Hello and welcome to the EU R&I Day session on breakthrough solutions to COVID-19. My name is Vilma Radvileta. I will be moderating this session. During this session, you will meet 4 innovative European companies which develop solutions against COVID-19 in the areas of prophylactics, diagnostics, and therapeutics, and which were supported with the EU financial instruments, the European Innovation Council, and the Infectious Diseases Finance Facility. We also have a representative with us from the European Investment Bank who will tell us in more detail how the EU InnovFin was reinforced to finance COVID-19 projects. I invite the audience to raise their questions in the Q&A session and to vote for the interesting ones. If we have time at the end of this session, we will ask the most voted question to our speakers. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, the European Commission acted decisively and quickly to refocus the funding available in order to deal with this crisis. Research and innovation was among the first EU policy area to react with comprehensive response. One of the examples is the Infectious Diseases Finance Facility under InnovFin. IDFF is a joint European Commission and European Investment Bank financial instrument providing loans between 7.5 million and 75 million euro to innovative players developing solutions to combat infectious diseases. Although the program is covering a wide range of diseases since spring 2020, Commission agreed with the bank that the absolute priority should be given to projects dealing with COVID-19. In addition to that, the IDFF funding was increased by 400 million euro to allow the EIB to process the high volume of potential deals addressing the pandemic. In this session, we have 3 speakers which benefited from the IDFF program and which are actively involved in finding solutions to COVID. We will speak to them later. On a different scale investments, we have the European Innovation Council Pilot. The EIC aims to support top-class innovators and startups who develop radically new products, services, and business models, which are very highly risky and have potential to scale up internationally. The EIC has 4 cut-off dates per year and provides blended finance possibility, offering grants up to 2.5 million euro and equity component up to 15 million euros, which will be implemented via the newly established European Innovation Council Fund. In March this year, as a response to the coronavirus pandemic, an extra 150 million euro was allocated to the EIC to support innovations targeting COVID-19. Over 1,400 applicants proposed breakthrough solutions, and 36 companies were selected for the amount of 166 million euros. One of those projects is today with us. It's a company Xenotera from France. Now I would like to turn to our first speaker, Felicitas Riedel, who is Head of Life Sciences Department at the European Investment Bank. And I would like you to take the floor and tell us how the European Investment Bank responded to the urgency caused by the coronavirus.
Yes, hello, good morning. So the aim of my presentation is to provide you a brief overview what concretely the Infectious Disease Finance Facility is about and how this is related to the fight against COVID-19. As already mentioned before, this finance facility or thematic scheme was set up in 2015.
Mute microphone. So my microphone, can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you, yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah,
yes,
very good. I have no sound, however. I don't know who is speaking, but I don't hear anything on my side.
Okay, so should I still continue?
Yes.
So it was set up to address a perceived market failure with regards to supporting infectious diseases. Since its inception in 2015, we have looked into nearly 190 financing requests, which is an indication that this instrument is very well perceived within the market and indeed addressing a finance gap. Lately, and also due to the fact that, as mentioned before, there has been an increase of this facility by 400 million euros, we also see an increased demand or increased request for this finance facilities from projects that have a direct link to the various ways of addressing the COVID-19 crisis. So far, again, just to give you some background, 15 companies have already received a financing of a signature volume of nearly 350 million euros. Out of these, of course, COVID-19 also plays a major role alongside with antimicrobial resistance, for example. Key to all these, or a common factor of all these projects that have received financing so far, is the fact that this instrument allows to address a higher risk level than commercial banks would normally take, and also supports the relevant companies and projects in their growth phase and allows for a faster move to the market. The next slide, I don't know who has indicating this, provides you with an overview about the 15 companies that have received financing, and you already see that amongst these 5 already provide a solution. I think 2 of them are also represented in the panel, so I will not go into more detail. The next slide, I think there's something wrong, by the way.
Yes, I can't hear.
So is it possible that I do it myself?
Yes,
so
if you can,
yeah,
because we
so
lost. Yes, thank you.
I think because I was told. So I'm here. So I think what is probably most relevant for the audience is to have a concrete overview about what does it really mean from a company perspective. So the intention of IDFF is to also provide access to financing in the first place. This access to financing is provided in the form of a venture debt, so of a loan instrument that has the advantage that there is no dilution linked to it, which is particularly important if you bear in mind that the initial risk has been taken by the first shareholders, and you don't want to make sure that they're completely deprived of their initial risk taking. But also you need to bear in mind that if you invest into a company or support a company in the growth phase, that the financial requirements are substantially large. And if you fully address this by equity, you would more or less own a substantial part of the company. So that is not intended. Also, the fact that this instrument is de facto taking equity risk, it also allows companies to access financing where normally it would be more difficult to obtain this financing from a traditional bank. A key differentiating factor, furthermore, for this type of financing is that it's tailor-made to the needs of the company. So due to the fact that within EIB, we work together in multidisciplinary teams made out of classical bankers, but also technical people who have PhDs, are medical doctors, engineers themselves. So we are able to translate a business plan that in particular with companies also very much related to vaccine development, but also new therapeutics or diagnostics. It's important to understand the underlying processes behind it. And we translate this into what are the concrete technical milestones and the financial need linked to it to ensure that the companies can really focus on where they are best to provide solutions, in particular to the pressing COVID crisis, as fast as possible, and we can provide the financing linked to it. What is also particularly important is to say that being the EIB and working with the support of the Commission, we are a policy-driven bank, so we work together with the companies on solutions to provide any way forward. So we don't leave the companies alone, and we are fully aware that if you work in innovation, there are some hiccups. To make a final link, and this is already the last slide of my presentation, I just wanted to give you a view of the direct COVID link. I hope it's visible on your screens what to show, but the key takeaway message is that we have a quite rich pipeline that is covering not only the vaccine and treatment space, but also a very important the rapid diagnostic testing space. As we all know, you have a twofold approach to tackle tackle a corona crisis at the moment. You need to detect and isolate the infected patients, but also on the long run, of course, we all hope that there will be a vaccine available to provide further protection. But also equally important, you need to be able to provide potential cures for the people that have caught COVID-19 and they are in desperate need for treatment options. Having said this, IDFF plays there a crucial role. It supports companies and the latest stages of the development where there is a very high financial need. It helps to bring solutions to European or actually global citizens. We are very grateful and we also look forward to receiving interesting proposals from you going forward. And that was it for the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Felicitas, for your presentation. We will go back after in a round of the questions. And now I would like to turn to our business representatives. And the first one on my list is a Belgian biotech company, Universals, that is represented today by the founder and chief technology officer, Jose Castillo. Last year, Universal signed 20 million deal with the European Investment Bank and the European Commission under the same IDFF program to develop a portfolio of 4 vaccines. The company is active in development of vaccines against infectious diseases and innovative manufacturing platforms. Jose, could you tell us, your company is doing so much different things, and could you tell us, and what is your solution which you developed to the COVID?
Sure. So I am unmuted. I don't know, Vilma, if someone could put my slides on the screen, so for me to use them during my presentation. But so first of all, obviously, so thanks a lot for the organization of this session, and for the invitation. So I'm, as you said, Jose Castillo. I'm one of the founders of Universals. I am the chief technical officer. And this company was actually started up in 2014. I have a background in chemical engineering, and I used to run the process development, scaling up, and clinical manufacturing department at GSK Vaccines. So I was responsible for viral vaccines. And when we started up Universals, our goal, our dream maybe, was to increase, hopefully, the affordability of vaccines and the availability of many vaccines through a new technology, so through technological innovation. So we really believe that what we call technology-driven affordability is possible today, and I will show you a couple of slides of what the technology is about, or essentially what the benefits are. But so as I was saying, so we started up the company in 2014. We are today 175 people. Most of the operations are in Belgium. We have offices in Brussels. We have labs in the south of Belgium, in Nivelles and Gosselies, where there is a very dynamic biopark. And with, again, Vilma, you mentioned that supported by IDFF, we were also able to invest into a new site that we acquired now 6 months ago. We will have 15,000 square meters that will be reshuffled to be able. I mean, we want to transform them into clean rooms, and we will have a COVID-19 dedicated facility of 2,000 square meters for us to hopefully, after we succeed with 2 negotiations ongoing, for us to manufacture 2 COVID-19 vaccine candidates. So 175 people on 3 locations. And so this is the campus where you see here, actually, this is Charleroi, Brussels South Airport. So we are in a strategic position for us to grow, to hire people, very competent people coming from the Belgian vaccine ecosystem. You certainly know that one of our big brothers is a GSK, where actually I used to work, as I was saying. And so I could tell you that the company is based on, from the engineering perspective, on two principles that we, kind of invented and have been developing during the last 5 years. So everything we do is based on a concept that we call intensification. So we want basically to produce more into a smaller space, into a smaller volume. So this is a very well-known engineering principle in the chemical industry. And we combine this with another principle that we call chaining, which means that we put together all the unit operations that constitute a process. And our goal ultimately is actually to provide a fully integrated and automated system for the production of viral products. So obviously viral vaccines, but this can work. It works actually also for gene vectors that are based on AAVs or lentiviruses, for example. So what you see here actually on one picture, one picture can say many things. What we did compare here is actually all the unit operations that are replaced by our new intensified and chain technology. And so all the unit steps of what we call upstream, so to grow cells, produce the virus, to perform a filtration, concentration, all the purification and inactivation, all this was actually reduced in size, intensified, and integrated into one machine, one system. The one you see here is the first one we delivered for the manufacturing of a new polio vaccine. So that's a program that was supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So that was certainly, one of the most important programs we signed at the beginning of the company. That system is today implemented into a vaccine development company in the Netherlands that has a polio facility. And then we got another support of the Gates Foundation for a measles rubella vaccine. That was really at the foundation of the company. And Vilma, as you were saying, so last year, and that really boost the second expansion of our company. We were massively supported by IDFF, and IDFF actually obviously provided money, which is the essence, but not only. Having this financial support from IDFF gave lots of confidence to other investors, especially institutional investors, like SFPI, so SFPI in French, so the Belgian Federal Investment Fund, and many actually private investors as well got more confidence into the company after the successes with Gates and the support of IDFF. And last but not least, having EIB or the European structure, financing structures behind us, also convinced probably the biggest private equity firm to invest 50 million into our technology branch that we call Universals Technologies.
Thank you, Jose. This is indeed, you touch upon a very interesting point, and we will go to that in a second round of the questions. Now, if you allow me, I will give a floor to our next speaker.
Sure.
So to the producer, developer of vaccines, company CureVac, represented by Pierre Kemula, Chief Financing Officer at German Biotech. CureVac is very known. It signed 75 million loans.
Solutions to COVID-19 by EIC InnovFin.
So CureVac signed a 75 million loan agreement with the European Commission and European Investment Bank under the IDFF for the development and large-scale production of a vaccine. CureVac was among the first ones to start with clinical trials in mid-June. And of course, we want to hear from Pierre about his company, about this vaccine, and where you are today.
Yes, so it's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm happy to present the company today very, very on a high level. So CureVac is working around one technology, which is called messenger RNA, and whereby basically you inject an information that is picked up by the cell in the body and will make the actual protein that is needed. So you use the cells as the manufacturing site for what you want to do. So you can apply this technology in vaccines, in cancer vaccines, but also in protein therapy. So this is a new technology that allows to go fast because you use the same approach, whatever you do, whether you do a vaccine A, vaccine B, vaccine C, you do the same plant because you use the same process, and you can do prophylactic vaccines, you can do cancer vaccines, and you can do what we call protein therapy, where you will supply the body with more protein. So you have a leg where you have an immune activation and a leg where you don't want an immune activation. So for today, we'll focus on the immune activation side. And it's true that, you know, we've had great data earlier in the year in the rabies vaccine, where we showed that we protected patients with 1 microgram of vaccine, that is, you know, 1/1,000,000th of a gram. So as we've been, you know, around for some time, we have some production capacity, and if we associate the low dose vaccine that we hope to have and some production capacity, means that you can provide fairly quickly significant amount of vaccines to people in need. And so we came in talks with IDFF earlier this year, of course, because the story is capacity. How do we have more and more product of vaccine to make available to the broader population? And so we are very fortunate to have this 75 million euro financing facility from the IDFF. And the idea here is that we not only have extra money for you know, pushing our clinical trial, but as well as have capacity. And so we have our GMP4, so our 4 suites, which we hope to be able to churning out billions of doses of vaccine on a yearly basis coming up in a couple of years. So we are for COVID, we're also seeing at how we can duplicate our number 3 suites as we move forward. The technology is very versatile, meaning that you can also have local manufacturing sites, and you may have heard a deal or a story we have with Tesla, where we are looking at doing, you know, kind of a network of mini manufacturing sites. That's it really on the technology on a high level. I mean, there's plenty of advantages on speed, on ability to have multiple antigens onto a same vaccine in the same process. You do all that at the same plant. And of course, what we are seeing today as well, compared to other of our competitors, it seems that we have an advantage that we're able to distribute these vaccines in a normal cold chain, as opposed to have this very cold negative temperature chain. We have collaborations with GSK, Genmab, CRISPR, and as we move on, we hope to continue to have more validating collaborations out there. So on COVID specifically, thanks for pointing out, we're in the clinic. We have 240 subjects at the time being in phase 1. We are titering dose. We want to find the dose, and the idea is we come with results, I would say, in Q4, probably in October, and you know, establish the dose to move it to phase 3 clinical trial before the end of the year. So we would hope to have a vaccine sometime at the end of the first half of next year. I mean, on a high level basis, these are the messages I wanted to put across. So I mean, unless there are questions, I will stop here.
Thank you very much, Pierre. This is indeed very interesting. And now we turn from vaccines to other medical solutions to fight COVID-19. And I would like to invite Tuomas Tenkanen, the CEO of Finnish-French biotechnology company Mobidiag, developing innovative molecular diagnostic solutions, to tell us about his company, his product, and what solution they could, and I'm sure they are already offering related to the COVID-19. Tuomas, the floor is yours. Please unmute yourself, yes.
Yes, thank you, Vilma, very much. And it's a pleasure to have this opportunity to talk here. So I'm the CEO of Mobidiag. Mobidiag, we say as a new Mobidiag, was formed in 2013 by merging 3 European companies, 2 in Finland and 1 in France. And it was an extraordinary opportunity to combine all the technologies to develop new platforms, tests, and even have the enzyme technology in one hand. Typically, the startups are having a narrow sector only in their hands and needs everything else outside. But this was, in my opinion, rather unique opportunity. In 2013, we started to develop 2 platforms, one called AmpliDiag, that is for high throughput testing for large hospital laboratories in the infectious disease area, and Nevoline is a random access system, cartridge-based, easy-to-use platform. And we are very happy to be now in the situation that we have already 180 people working at the company. We have the headquarters in Espoo, Finland, but we have subsidiaries in Paris, London, and Stockholm as well. We have been focusing to the gastroenteric infections, antibiotic resistance, hospital-acquired infections, and obviously now the COVID-19 is a very important topic to us. But if you look our timeline, what really makes us a bit different is that before the merger, we really analyzed that we wouldn't do the same mistake that many startups does, and that is that you think that only an enabling technology is sufficient. We were looking actually the same thing that Jose was saying. We think that the technically driven affordability is very important. In our case, the approach is a bit different, but we were very thoroughly thinking that whatever we were doing in the company, we need to be able to scale. We need to be able to automatize the manufacturing, and we need to be able to keep the cost down. And we have been there rather successful, and we are with those two platforms now out on the market. If we look our path from the beginning, you can see that EIB has been very strongly influencing our success. In 2016, we got the first funding from EIB, from InnovFin instrument, and actually we're working with Felicitas also during that time, and it was extremely nice process, not only do all the result that we get funding, but even the due diligence process was extraordinary because EIB really had a specialist team to analyze us and challenge what we are doing. We were happy to reach all the milestones of that funding, and then in 2019 we got the next growth funding, a 25 million loan from EIB. We have also formed a joint venture in China together with Autobio Diagnostics, and that was really beneficial if we think this COVID situation. We were able to get the first-hand information from China from the very beginning, and already early this year we started the development of the test for COVID detection. And right now we have two offering for COVID, and we think that this is a very powerful combination. We have AmpliDiag platform that is capable of handling in batch process large amount of samples at once. And then we have the random access system that is Nevoline, that is very useful in emergency settings and the satellite laboratories. And most commonly, we have both platforms in the large, both public and private laboratories present. We have been rather successful here. We are now our customers are the largest public and private laboratories in our main countries, and our main direct countries are Finland, Sweden, France, and UK, where we have our own organization present at the moment. This time is rather interesting for diagnostic companies because the needs are so significant, and none of the companies have the capacity to fulfill all the needs. That's why we have been focusing in Europe and in our direct countries. One key in the diagnostic is really to secure the supply chain of the materials. It's not enough that you have the test, but you need to secure the workflow. So as an example, there is a huge lack of sample tubes and sample media in the laboratories. it's not our typical business, but we even built the molds to manufacture our own plastic tubes because there were lack of that. We developed very rapidly our media, sample media, and we have been really doing our best to secure the full workflow from the sample to the results, because if there is a lack of something in the middle, you just cannot do any testing. And the next phase is that we are bringing the tests that are not detecting only COVID, but as well influenza A, B, and RSV, because when there is the influenza season, that is really the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas, very much indeed. I see you are very active and doing interesting solutions. And apparently you already know Felicitas, which is also very nice. You also brought very interesting and important point, the EIB team, which is very well established to really work with those companies which apply to IDFF. Now I would like to introduce you to a French biotech company, Xenotera. I hope that Odile has fixed her connection. So Xenotera was one of 36 successful projects financed by the European Innovation Council. Their project Bright, developing treatment solutions, was awarded €2 million in grant and will be considered for a multi-million capital contribution from the European Innovation Council Fund. I would like the CEO of Xenotera, Odile, to tell us about this project. What is the solution to COVID? Yes,
Good morning, everybody. Very difficult for me to speak because can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can somebody tell me whether you can hear me or not?
Yes,
please?
Yes.
I have no sound, so
we can hear you perfectly, Odile.
I'm presenting, but I don't know whether somebody is hearing me. Hearing me or not. So quite difficult for me, but sorry about that. I hope somebody can hear me.
Yes.
So my name is Odile Duvaux. I am the CEO of a biotech that was created in 2014. And we have been, since the beginning, developing polyclonal antibodies based on a very innovative technology, which is the glycohumanization of the antibodies. So since the beginning, we've been focusing on the development of our platform, and our first product was developed since 2014 and is in clinic since 2019. It's a product in transplantation. In 2015, we've been observing the properties of our antibodies, and we're very interested in discovering that they had interesting properties in viral activities, well, antiviral activities. So that's why we've been ready to react very quickly to the current pandemic by developing a new treatment against COVID-19. Can you turn to the next slide, please? So when you consider the problem of COVID-19, you know that there will be several generations of treatments. One of them being to develop specific treatments, and the main it's very established for virus. The main candidate is antibodies against the virus. So when you think about therapeutic antibodies against COVID-19, you first have to consider what type of antibodies you're going to develop. So we know there are three options. One is the human monoclonal antibodies. Their interest is that they have a very high specificity and they can have an optimized mechanism of action. On the opposite, their problem is that they have a very narrow spectrum and their development is very long because it's always customized. The second option is to have antibodies from convalescent patients, and the advantage is that they are from human origin and they are polyclonal, so they are very efficient because they are similar to the physiological answer and the immunological answer of any patient fighting against the virus. The difficulty is mostly that first they have an uneven titer because according to the different patients, people develop an immune response that can be different, and they have a difficult procurement. You need to find patients to identify when you should get their plasma, And then you have also a risk of antibody-dependent enhancement. This is a mechanism where the antibodies, instead of protecting patients, are worsening the disease. And ADE has been described in all coronaviruses since 2010. I'm thinking of SARS and MERS. The third option is to provide hyperimmune polyclonal antibodies from animal origins. So their interest is that you can master the titer, you can produce them as much as you want, and they are also polyclonals, like human antibodies. The difficulty is that they are immunogenic and they are responsible for serum sickness disease, which is something very nasty. And it's a problem that is solved that our technology, glyco-humanized polyclonal antibodies. Can you go to the next slide, please? So what we do is that we have engineered animals. These are double cow pigs, and they are immunized by an antigen from the virus. With our platform, that is able to develop these type of antibodies very quickly, you can get our product, which is an XAV-XAV19. So the mechanism of action of XAV19 is to block the virus entrance into the cells, to block any type of inflammation due to the antibodies, either macrophage or antibody-dependent enhancement, and that they have low immunogenicity of XAV19. So we have been able to react very quickly to the pandemic by starting our program in March and having our first GMP batch ready for clinic in June. So our good surprise, I would say, is that XAV19 is 100 to 1,000 times more active than any plasma from patients. So having this in mind, now what comes next? Can you go to the next slide, please? And then I will comment a few features of our development. So we were able, as I say, to release our first GMP batch of XAV19 in June. And we got the IND for clinical trial, first clinical trial in France. The clinical trial is expected to be ended in 2021, and we are going to the scale up of the production now, and we intend to have another country for a confirmatory trial that will start a clinical trial. So now coming to the help of the EU, can you go back to the first slide, because I think it's over for my slides, please. So what happened is that in March, our current investors private investors were sort of, going on track with our regular pipeline. And we just mentioned to them that we were ready to react very quickly to the COVID-19 epidemic because we had the technology that was ready. At this time, in March, they agreed on that. But they say, don't take all the resources and the money of the company to develop your XAV19 because it's a high risk for the company, and we are a very small company. So what happened is that we had the opportunity to apply for the EIC European funding program, and we were, in fact, very, very impressed by the reactivity of EU in these circumstances. So we had the application in March, and we were able to pitch in May. And so Europe validated the fact that we could go with the support of EU for the XAV19 program. Obviously, it's not enough. So what we have had in parallel is a strong support from the French government by supporting us for a clinical trial, first clinical trial in France. This clinical trial being currently started, and also the production of a number of GMP batches, which were able to be done very quickly due to the maturity of our technology. So, in a nutshell, the French government was supporting also us for the scale-up of our production. So, our ambition today is to become one of the major European champions in treatments, polyclonal from our technology of glyco-humanized polyclonal antibodies, which are established to be much more active than monoclonal antibodies in fighting viruses. So in COVID-19, our very preliminary clinical results indicate that our product is going to be very good. and it's going to prove, we intend to prove its efficacy within the coming months. So I had a last question, which was, what makes us successful? And I would say that apart from the fact that we've been fighting very hard to get support from all levels, I mean local, national, European, and now we're going also overseas, what makes us successful is that we have a very motivated team. I am the CEO, but I have close to me a program director, a chief operating officer, clinicians, and all people are very motivated in finding something against this damn virus. So I don't know whether my time is over because I don't hear anything. So sorry if I was too long. I'm ready for questions, but this question should be translated to me by writing because otherwise, sorry for this, I don't hear anything. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Odile, for your presentation. It is really a pity that you cannot hear us. We have only 5 minutes left till the end of our session. So I would like to wrap up in a way and to maybe ask you a quick last question, all of you. So what we heard today was that in developing your solution to COVID-19, what is very important we heard today was the team, the motivation of the team, was the European Investment Bank team helping to react quickly. We just heard about also the EU reaction being quickly to provide the loan, but also I heard the supply chain importance in testing devices, procurement, and the EU loan in terms of helping in discussions with other investors. So very quickly, because the time is finishing, I would like to ask a general question to all of you. You are very busy with developing solutions for COVID-19. If we meet here on this EU R&I Day session 2021, what we will be discussing? Will you be telling us your success stories? Will the virus be combated, or will we have another remaining issues to solve at that stage? Please, let's start with Thomas, maybe, because you are the first on my screen. Very quickly, in half minute, if you may.
Yes, thank you. I think no one of us really knows how this will be ending, but I'm quite sure that COVID-19 is here to stay. Maybe in the longer run, it's part of the normal influenza. We will see how that goes. Obviously, there is a lot of pressure for the vaccine companies, like we have heard talks today. But I think the role of the diagnostics is crucial in controlling of this epidemic, and most probably this will be not the last epidemic that we will see in the future.
Okay, thank you. Pierre, what would you say? Please unmute your... Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's great. It's a great question. I think it's great to see that the whole industry on the vaccines, on the antibody, on the diagnostics is, working hard to best address the issue. The way that at CureVac we think about it, we think more as a program. So it's not just one vaccine. It's a vaccine. It's a follow-up vaccine. It's a booster. We believe that potentially in the longer run, especially in more at-risk population or elderly, will have to have a yearly, shot, a bit like flu. So we think it may stay a bit longer than we will all hope for. But so we are preparing that to make sure we can address the longer term as well.
Thank you, Pierre. Jose, what would you say?
So several things in addition to what was already said. I think that this was an incredible crisis. I think that the industry, as Pierre and Thomas said, reacted, rapidly and with lots of, it was a powerful reaction. Local governments, so all the nations in Europe, European Union, of course. I think this is a wonderful opportunity to learn. There will be, if I may say, a kind of residual value of COVID-19, which is how do we manage pandemics in the future? Is this actually, and I'm talking especially about you, Pierre, and your company, this is also actually lots of pressure and a great opportunity for your technology to be validated and to hopefully to become the next generation, vaccine strategy. So I think that, lots of pressure, lots of stress, but if you look at the future in a positive manner, this is a great opportunity to evolve.
Thank you, Jose. Felicitas, would you say a last word?
I would say that it shows again the power of innovation that lies within European companies. I think this is a big something to be proud of in 2021. And I also want to stress the fact that this has helped to raise awareness for pandemic preparedness. This is essential, and also that investments into healthcare are necessary to be better prepared, and healthy citizens can also provide a healthy economy.
Thank you, Felicitas. Odile, I'm not sure if you can hear us. If not, I would like to thank you all for your time and your contribution to the session, to the discussion, and for what you are doing actually every day in your lives. This is very important to each of us. So good luck, and take care and stay healthy. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Probably we are not anymore online.
So we got automatically kicked out.
I don't know, maybe.
Okay.
If
So
not,
then,
again, thank you very much. It was very interesting. It's a pity we did not have enough time to...
Celine has ended the webinar. Okay. Thanks, Wilma. Excellent moderation.